Welcome back, Captains, to another episode of Starfleet Academy Online. I'm your host and instructor, Hale Bohse, and in this episode, we're going to be going over the colony. So the important thing that you need to realize about the colony is that this is a place where I think, as a holding is concerned, it's extremely useful for a lot of different reasons. This is the place where you're going to do colony sims if you ever become a part of one, which is a 20-man sort of group kind of raid experience. It's the only real sort of raid experience in game, but it's not even really considered a raid because really it's just four smaller groups that are broken down into five, and you protect shield generators, which is a whole nother video. I'll go over what colony sims are and how to play them and how to beat them, etc. In a different video. But just know that this is the location that those actually take place. And it's also a place where you're going to get a lot of cool equipment and probably, to take care of your normal day-to-day stuff. Bridge officers, etc., are going to be valuable here. So let's take a look and beam down to the colony. Now this is a very, very large space. So this might be a slightly longer video than most, but it's definitely going to be packed with information that'll be well worth it. This guy's just the security chief. You just talk to him when you want to either initiate a colony sim or if you want to beam back to your ship or whatever, which, by the way, you can always just hail him right here in the corner. But if you look over here, the Quartermaster's first, and this is a really neat kind of a thing because there's actually missions that you can do here, similar to what you did in the dilithium mine to gather dilithium. Here you can collect ore, batteries, and luxury provisions for the colony. Now that becomes important, especially when developing your colony. These provisions can be very valuable to your fleets, so hang on to those. Make sure you drop them in the coffers when you can, and if you have a holding in your colony, there's coffers in the colony world, and you can drop in your batteries, your luxury, or your ore provisions there as you gather them. But it's a great way to gather fleet credits, and you can do this, I think, once every half an hour. So this is a great way to just collect a bunch of provisions if you're not doing the actual mission. You're not doing the colony sim. So if you look over here, you're going to see that this is where you can customize your starship. There's a lot of the standard stuff. This is your ship selection officer. Again, you can change your loadout, your build. Here's the engineering officer. So they do have a lot of cool little duty officer missions that you can do that are specifically for development in various categories that you otherwise would not have the ability to do. So these are those extra duty officer missions that you can do, and these are great places to do them at. And on the first floor, really, that's pretty much it. There's not a lot else on the first floor that I think we need to worry too much about. So let's actually go up to the second floor, and then we'll start working our way up and then out. So as we come up to the second floor here, the first thing you're going to notice straight in front of us is this science officer here, and he has the same types of missions that you can do for those duty officers. Again, mostly for development, mostly for those extra points, but still something you can do to help out. This location is where once you hit, I think, tier 5 in this area, you can actually collect your batteries from here. So that Quartermaster that we looked at, you can farm those provisions here in the colony, and this is where you can farm some of the battery provisions. There's also one other location that you can farm those as well, but that's not going to be necessary for our purposes here. So let's just keep going. But on the second floor, there is some stuff that you're really going to want to pay attention to, and you can just run up this ramp right here and get to it. But I'm going to take you straight to it. So the ground and space equipment officers are right here in the windows on the second floor and facing the front of the colony, and these are excellent space equipment stuff. I mean, the warp cores, The tactical consoles are absolutely outstanding. The warp cores, again, are outstanding. The deflectors are outstanding. Even the engines are outstanding, and they give great bonuses. The energy weapons are pretty good too. If you like Disruptor or Polaron or something, like these are great pieces to get a hold of. And yes, there's Phaser and a bunch of others as well. Now the ground equipment is similar in how it's themed, but you'll just have to go through here and check all the different types of ground equipment that you might be lacking so that you can jump in and get some of that stuff here. Of course, there is a tailor here, just like everywhere else. In this particular store, they do have a Dranuur Colony worker outfit, which is kind of neat. So that's cool. And then over here is where you would repair your starship if it has damage, and if you've gone out done missions, it's got damage, or if you've got damage to yourself, here's the medical officer where you would go so that you can get healed. And then right over here, ironically, this is like all by its lonesome, is the exchange officer. And the exchange officer is over here in the corner. So if you want to access the exchange, you can do so from the colony holding. And here's a couple more bridge officers, tactical, and the security officer. Those are, again, more duty officer missions that you can do, which will be extremely useful to you. But that's pretty much what's on the second floor. So let's go to the third floor. And running up here, I think my graphics card is biting off more than it can chew right now. So in any case, take a look right here. This is a special officer. Now, the only other place that I know of that you can have this bridge officer trainer is actually ESD, right below Quinn's office, kind of out in front and below it. And this is where you can get like a lot of your different training manuals for your bridge officer abilities, both in space and in ground, for military, miracle worker, pilot, temporal officer, command, intelligence, etc. So even the specialization training manuals, at least the first two iterations, you can get from that from that guy there. And then over here, this is the personnel officer. So very much similar to what you saw in the Starbase, where I can also requisition duty officers depending, of course, on the level and tier that your holding has gotten to. In this case, this colony's tier 5, so it has access to everything. You also have another console that was also on the Starbase, right next to the same guy that also had the same function as the personnel officer, and that's this guy here. And this is where you can actually purchase any of the duty officers that, as you were going through your progression in your commendation points and you were, leveling up your commendation campaigns. In each of those, you're going to get the option to choose duty officers, and whichever ones you didn't choose will still be available for you to purchase from one of these individuals here. So it's a great way to replace some duty officers that are not performing the way that you hope for them to do. And over here, I want to bring something up that is extremely important. It's very valuable, and that's this gentleman right here. And he's just kind of hiding off in the corner over here. And he's also one of the most important officers you're going to talk to. And the reason is because he gives the bridge officers, both Lukari and Kentari bridge officers, which both have some great traits, specifically the leadership, which is the hull regeneration rate, and then the superior efficiency. Like both Kentari and Lukari bridge officers have both of those. So you increase your warp core efficiency, which increases the effectiveness of your your weapons or your engines or your auxiliary or whatever, or your shields. Like at lower powers, it's still more as effective as if somebody had put more power in it. So that's pretty good. But I want you to pay special attention to the Kentari officers. Specifically, the engineering officers are pretty great. And that's because not only do they give that leadership bonus and that superior efficiency, but they also have something called Kentari ferocity. And they all have it. But since you have the Romulan bridge officers from the embassy, you might want to take advantage of some Kentari officers, because this one has Kentari ferocity, which every time you kill something, it grants you an additional damage buff. And that's great. And if you're taking out swarms of people all at the same time, that can stack really, really quickly and be a huge benefit to you. So if you've got a couple of those engineering officers on you, that is definitely going to increase DPS right there. So that's pretty spectacular. As far as the rest of this is concerned, there's a couple other things of note, but nothing really that we have to focus on. One cool thing about the colony in general is that if you go to the water, you'll notice that you can actually use, whoops, if you don't do that like I just did now, but if you can go to the water over here, you can notice that you can actually use some of the gifts that you got during the Rysian summer event. And it's pretty cool because you can kind of travel a lot faster on the map. And it's really important because if you notice, this is a big map, right? And what I'm looking at over here is originally when I showed you that officer that was down below that had those missions, this is how far you would have to travel from there in order to get to do that collect batteries mission out by where these fans are here. And then similarly, the others are kind of separated pretty far apart too. So this is where you can really take advantage of your frosty boots or your surfboards, because if you got them for the summer event or the winter event, you could definitely make this a lot easier on yourself and a lot less time consuming. So, whoops, I'm going a little too crazy right here. Need to go down here. If you travel around, you'll notice, whoops, here we go. So here's a spot where you can farm the luxury provisions right here. So that's a great little, that's where you can do that mission. And then there's a place closer right there, as you can see, right in front of me where I'm pointed. And this is where you can actually gather the ore. So this is another great spot for you to gather ore and other materials that'll be useful for you. Oh, oops. Not this one. I lied. My apologies. It's not this one. There's another one. It's probably closer to shield generator 4. I am being silly. There it is. So I'm going to go ahead and run across here so I can show you, but pretty easy going stuff. So this little area right here, right next to shield generator 4, is a great place to mine for ore. And so this is where you'd go into here, and you can mount one of these guns that's going to be right here on the left or the right, and you can actually collect your ore from here. So that's pretty straightforward, pretty cool stuff that you can kind of take advantage of. I'm getting lost in my own freaking place. Here we go. Cool looking. And there's one other thing that I'd like to show you, but it's kind of back at the beginning. I should have showed you initially, but we're here now, so. And that's that there is bank and mail access at the very entrance. So I'll just quickly show you where that is so that you know where to go get it. And that should make things a little bit easier when you're navigating this space here. Okay, and so right over here, it's actually pretty close to where we beam in, and this is going to be the spot where you find both your mail and bank access. So that pretty much covers it for the colony. There's a lot more that we could say about this place, but I think we're going to leave it to another episode because we're already running a little bit long. So we really appreciate you if you stuck with us this long. Thank you so much for the support, for the view. I hope this content was very helpful for you. If you think that there's anything that's really important to mention that I might have missed, please mention that in the comments below. I'm more than happy to hear what you have to say. I'd love to hear from you. And if you like the content, please consider giving us a thumbs up. And as always, captains, boldly to go.
Legends never die when the world is calling you. Can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die, they become a part of you.